Nobody wants to get united. Like, what we gotta do is meet everybody in 149th Street at the bench.
If you're new to graffiti and throw-ups are a little bit hard for you, it's understandable. It's hard for most new graffiti artists. But in today's video, I want to help you out. I'm going to give you a couple of tips that should make throw-ups a little bit easier to go ahead and do. And we're going to be doing that taking a look at the graffiti from Skate 3. Massive shout out to my friend Shove, who went ahead and sent me these. I got a link to his social media in the description down below for you. Go ahead and check them out. Now I gotta let you guys know, not all the graffiti in this game is good, alright? So we're also going to be looking at some stuff that maybe isn't exactly all that high quality. You see, we got the first one here which says Oiler. And I gotta be honest, this is a pretty dope throw-up. It's really good. Like, at surface value, you may see it and go, oh, that's really simplistic, but that's not bad. Like, simple isn't bad, which I know is something that a lot of newer graffiti artists don't necessarily agree with. But all of this is fundamentally correct. Look at the negative space management. Each letter layers on top of the next, reducing the amount of negative space between each individual letter. Now, the O is really unorthodox. It leans really hard to the left and as a result has a ton of weight to that side, despite the fact that it's not necessarily taller than any of the other letters. In fact, it's shorter than a lot of the other letters. But they compensate for this by making the R not only really tall, but also really wide. And they gave the R more letter structure, defining the leg of the R much more than your average throw-up. And then we move over to this. Our man Buzz here, rocking this little bit of a straight letter. Now this isn't entirely bad. I know, some of you guys are looking at this and you're like, what do you mean it's not bad? Alright, well it has some mistakes, but look at the letter structures. The basic boxes, for the most part, actually line up. While sure, they have some basic boxes that don't line up, a graffiti artist of this skill level, typically you'd see them make a lot more mistakes than what they're making. I mean, just check out their Z's. The last one is positioned very slightly higher up than the one that came before it. This helps tremendously for avoiding tangents, and tangents make things look flat. You don't want that. But overall, here on the series, we've seen a lot worse than this, so I'm not even gonna really harp on this that much. In fact, I like it. And like some of you guys have pointed out in the past, it's good to have bad graffiti in video games amongst other good graffiti, because then it just looks more realistic. It looks like the world is actually lived in by both kings as well as toys. People who are really good and people who aren't as experienced. And I think this fits that perfectly. Then we move over to Mitt. Now this throw-up is really good. Once again, another one of those rounded, simpler style. You don't have to really do much to your throw-ups in order to really compact them with style. We can see here that they added a serif to the M, and little tweaks like that are perfectly fine. But what I want to go ahead and point out is, remember in one of my videos I told you guys how really pushing these sorts of lines deeper into the letter adds tons of structure with very little effort? Look at this throw-up. This is a perfect example of that. We can see that happen on the M on the top, as well as in the middle that defines the left leg, the middle area of the M, as well as the right leg, all in just one line. Then they do this on the Y, as well as the H. Dipping these lines deeper into the letter really helps to develop your letter structure, and I highly recommend you try it out on your throw-ups if you haven't already. The only iffy part of this throw-up though is the T. You're not able to really see the left side of the T. It's completely excluded. The top left of the T doesn't even exist, and this is a bit of a problem. Luckily for them though, this is a really simplistic throw-up. Not only that, but what other letter could it possibly be? You see, there's certain occasions where you might have stylized the letter a little bit too much, and as a result you might have lost a little bit of letter structure, and it might appear like a totally different letter. Well, yes, we can tell that is a T. It also has the letter structure of a P or a lowercase r, more like a lowercase r, because it doesn't have the closed counter in there for the P. But it can't say Mirror. That's not gonna happen, so it's gotta be a T. Overall, great work. Now check this one out. I want to focus mostly on highlights here. You see, when we do highlights on our letters, we have to actually consider the light source. When you're doing highlights, you want to plan out where your light is coming from. So let's just say it's coming from the top right. This means all of your lights are going to be facing the top right. And that means that there shouldn't be any highlights anywhere on the bottom left. Now throughout this, we see highlights pretty much everywhere. And as a result, this is going to be pretty much the worst piece I've seen in this game so far. And even so, it's still not all that bad. Like, considering some of the other stuff we've seen on this series, this is still better than a lot of that stuff. Now we have the best throw-up in this game. One that I think is really going to help you guys out with your own throw-ups. You see, take a really good look at this. If you're not already doing this with your throw-ups, you're going to want to. And that is letter uniformity. You see, a big part of throw-ups is the fact that they flow. They thrive on flow. They need flow. It's one of the major fundamentals for throw-ups specifically. As to where hand styles and pieces, while they still need to flow, no doubt, you can get away with a little bit more as far as flow. You can be a little bit more lenient with it and forego flow in certain areas where with throw-ups, you really can't afford that. You have to make everything flow because you're working with limited resources. Look at how everything in this throw-up is built to flow with something. They start flowing by doing the serif of the M here on the top top left. Then they do what I mentioned before, where they come in really deep with their lines into the actual letter structure themselves. We get to the right side of the M, and what happens? It cuts to the top right and then swings right back to the left, really nice and deep at about the mean line for the throw up. And then they go back up for the serif. Now this sets the stage for the rest of the letters. This tells us that the rest of the letters have to have either a triangular top, or the next letters have to have this dip towards the mean line. So what happens next? Well, we have a lowercase I, and the lowercase I, it's a little bit difficult in order to do that pointy top that happens previously on the M. And then they do a lowercase I because, well, the horizontal top resembles the same dip. It has line uniformity with that dip on the M and the N that comes after. They add a serif for more letter uniformity, and then they come down for the rounded section of the I. Now with the N, we see the same thing. A triangular top comes right back down nice and deep, goes right back up for the serif and the structure on the top right of the N, comes right back in towards that mean line, and then finishes off the structure the rest of the way. The K does the same exact thing. This overall is an incredible throw up. At surface value, you'd look at it as just another throw up, but there's a lot going on under the hood here, and I think you guys can really take away a good amount from this. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, that pretty much brings us to the end of today's video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to let me know in the comments down below, and remember to hit the like button. It helps out a bunch. If you're new here, join the smartest graffiti community anywhere online. We have the best how to do graffiti tutorials right here with a bunch more graffiti content here. So as always, man, thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys next week. Until then, peace.